Ever wonder what happens after someone sets their goals? This week, I'm pulling back the curtain on my 2026 intentions, how I chose them, how I'm implementing them, what's still messy, and what I'm building next inside of Plan Goal Plan. Y'all, this episode is part strategy, part story, part invitation to begin. Let's do this. This time of the year is such a weird one. On one hand, I find myself really wanting to slow down. I want to winter. I want to journal and drink hot cocoa and watch movies and cuddle on the couch. And while that's what my body is kind of gearing up to do, my mind is gearing up to do this, like the world is just hopping, hopping and popping. So, our kids, they have so many things going on. They have dress up days at school, they have teacher gifts that they need to bring. They need to bring party supplies. We have Lego League competitions at this time of the year, and my husband's also the coach. We're wrapping up things at the university. So we have finals. I have a lot of anxious students that want to know about their grade, that have missed deadlines and are trying to make those up now. I've missed deadlines. I'm trying to make that up now. And so all of this like personal whoa, ramp it up for the holiday stuff. There's all of this, stuff happening with my kiddos. There's all of this professional stuff wrapping up my semester. And at the same time, I run a business that is called Plan Go Plan, that this is the time of the year that people are buying their planners. This is the time of the year that people are setting their goals. And so all of that is kind of, you know, peaking at the time that I just kind of want to take a nap. And so I wanted this episode to be more of a behind the scenes episode, one where I could take you along a little bit of my journey has been to set my 2026 goals and just get really transparent with you about how early it is that I start this process because I know this time of the year is really wild and what I'm still, despite starting really early, still working through. And then, I have some really exciting things that I'm planning for this podcast, for Plan Goal Plan as a business in 2026. And I wanted to give you all a little behind the scenes, a little sneak peek, because I am really excited about some of the things that are ahead. So, first, let's talk a little bit about goal setting because I start this process pretty early, especially for my business, just because I know I need to be thinking already about, Q1, really at the start of quarter four, maybe even earlier than that. But I also start thinking about my personal goals pretty early because I like to just sit in it. I feel pretty strongly that people shouldn't just jump into goal setting. Even when you have practices like I do of reflecting on a regular basis, I think that we need to spend some time really connecting with ourselves before we set those goals, especially as women, because I think so many of us are people pleasers. So many of us have been socially conditioned to be helpers and to really sacrifice our own goals, our own dreams, our own needs, wants, desires to help other people. And there's something really beautiful in that. But if we just jump right into goal setting, I think that it's so easy for us to set should goals. Now, I am someone who loves to dream. I love to come up with a million different things that I could do. And so I need some time too to sift through those and go, Danielle, where really do you need to be putting your time? And what really lights you up? What really are the levers? And I just need time to sort of sift through those things. So I started setting my goals probably as early as October this past year. And to do that, I did a lot of free journaling. For those of you that don't know, I have an undated planner called Sense the Possibilities Planner and Journal. And this has these wonderful, juicy worksheets at the beginning. I want to say there's over 20 of them that really lead you through some checking in with yourself. It's my vision goal setting process to help you connect with yourself and then narrow those ideas and really set those goals. And I usually aim for around 8 goals a year. The idea is that I'm going to choose to focus on and prioritize 2 goals a quarter. That's it. Some people like to set up to as many as 12. I wouldn't recommend any more than 12. For me, I have just found the less goals that I set, the more focused, clear, and likely I am to actually accomplish them. So, take from that what you will. I spent a lot of time beginning in October, in my own journal, but then also in the Sense of Possibilities planner and journal. So that has all these pages that like bring you up to, get you to set your goals. But then there's some really juicy quarterly reviews. Every single week, there are prompts to help you reflect on your week. There's a weekly preview and weekly review. And what I love about it is that sounds like a lot, but really you can do each in about 5-10 minutes. And it just kind of grounds you, centers you. It helps you feel like planning can be really a form of self care instead of this thing that's really pressure based and go, go, go based, while still at the same time, like accomplishing these things that make an impact and make you feel like you're using your gift and your skills and your talents. So in October, I started doing some of that. And then in November, my husband and I have a goal setting kind of ritual that we do together. And this year, we took a weekend where our kids were over at grandma and grandpa's, and we really were probably a little more juicy, deep into our goal setting than maybe we ever have. And it was such a rewarding process. So we kind of work individually and then share out. And then we find the places where we want to really combine our goals as a family. And this was one of my favorite years of Ryan and I doing this. And I learned that I was being really hard on myself about this year. Working with him through this was a really lovely way for him to say, wait, 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 Danielle, you did all these wonderful things. Let's take a moment and just acknowledge that and recognize that and celebrate that. So that was really, really helpful. And in that, it was really through Ryan, my husband, and I spending this time together that from there, I really felt ready to name and narrow my goals. And from there, I wrote down and I came up with 8 different goals. And, I did not end up with goals in every single life domain this year. In fact, I think I have 4 different life domains. I wrote them out, I typed them up, and I put them in my planner. So I have a 2026 weekly planner by Plan Goal Plan. And it is what you expect by your agenda book, much more than the Sense of Possibilities planner and journal really is more of a journal. But I do like this has a quick goal setting guide and a place for you to put your goals. And then it does have some quick quarterly reviews and wonderful, beautiful weekly layout. Oh my gosh, y'all, I can't wait to get into this. Also, I've been using the Erin Condren monthly stickers and they look so flippin' beautiful in this planner. The colors together just are amazing. So I wrote up my goals and then I really wanted to start breaking them down. So like I said, I only have kind of 3 different life domains. So I would say I have kind of 3 goals in my personal life domain. I have a health goal, I have a financial goal, and then I have work goals. So from there, I really kind of thought about what is it that I need to do every single month so I don't forget some of these things. And so I took my goals, like what my very first goal is that I deepen our family relationships in 2026 by planning one meaningful one-on-one experience with a family member each month. And so then I went into the front of each of my months, and on the side of my monthly spread, I wrote down, hey, make sure that you plan your one-on-one with a family member as just a prompt, a reminder to do the thing. And so I went and I did that for actually all of quarter 1. So January, February, and March. I made sure that I gave myself that prompt at the start of that month so that I would remember to actually do that goal. So I also have something like, plan a date night with my husband. So that needs to go in there. Plan our monthly adventure. That needs to be a reminder in there. And I'll do some of that through my quarterly planning, especially our monthly adventures, because we're going to need to make sure that those times are blocked off on our calendar. But I'm also going to need to, if we're going to hotels, make our reservations, make sure that we budget for that, all of that sort of stuff. So, what I did is I took those goals and then I started to think what needs to happen on a monthly basis so that I don't forget this. And some of them are just prompts to remind myself to do the thing. And so I went ahead and I did that. I started blocking off. I'm a big fan of creating a foundational calendar. So, making sure that you have all of your birthdays, your anniversaries, all of those things. And then I give myself reminders too. So I go into my calendar. If doing this for an entire year is overwhelming, start with quarter one. If you have quarterly planning processes in place, then you can take care of some of this during your quarterly planning. But it's also reminding myself, when am I going to order that birthday present for that birthday that's coming up? When am I going to send the anniversary card? All of these things really just start to get moved into my actual calendar so that I don't forget about them as we move through the year. And this is a really important part of goal setting for me, is moving it from the idea, from the aspiration, to small actions that you can take at quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily basis so that they become a reality. And getting really intentional about, I want this to happen. When is it going to happen? Because by really anchoring these goals into, this is the specific time, place that these are going to occur, they start really becoming real. And so I'm still in that process. I haven't gotten everything sort of moved from idea to reminder in my calendar, but I'm really starting to build out, especially my first quarter. For me, I tend to think almost in trimesters a little bit more because I'm an academic. We have, fall semesters, spring semesters, and summer. And so in a lot of ways, I do like to still plan in quarterly increments because that time frame, that chunk is a really nice amount in terms of me keeping momentum. But sometimes I do think about my life, like my schedule, my rhythm is going to be the same pretty much January through June. But June, July, and August is going to have its own rhythm. And then August through December has its own rhythm for me. And so you may not be an academic. You might have a work life or a family life that's going to have its own rhythms. But if you kind of can be aware of what those rhythms are and plan in accordance with those rhythms, it's really, really helpful. So now I'm kind of in the nitty gritty of some of my goals. Like, for example, I've had a blast posting on LinkedIn the last year. A full confession, until last year, I had not been on LinkedIn in like over a decade. In fact, when I logged into LinkedIn, I had a wedding invite from 2008. So, Trevor, if you are listening, I'm sorry that I missed your wedding. So, it'd been that long since I'd been on LinkedIn. I had like no followers. And I'm teaching a class called Creativity, Storytelling, and Identity. And I was like, I love storytelling. I hope that that's clear, some from this podcast. And so I was like, I'm going to go onto LinkedIn. I'm just going to start practicing my storytelling. And I wake up every morning, Monday through Friday, and I try to tell a story. And it has been so much fun for me. And then I teach my students, I'll say, oh, hey, here's some things that I'm doing when I think about hooks. Here's some things that I'm doing when I'm thinking about, long form story versus short form story. And here's some different techniques that I've learned. And it's been so much fun for this to be kind of my own little experimental playground that then I can bring some of those things back to my classroom. And in the process, I have grown my LinkedIn pretty significantly in the last year, and really just because I've been playing there. So if you've been kind of wondering which social I show up on the most, I do have a Facebook community that I'd love you all to be a part of, and I do post there, but I'm actually the most active on LinkedIn now. It's just been a really fun place. I'm very wordy. I loved perusing Instagram to a fault. Like, I can get sucked in to the vortex of Instagram, but I'm not a very visual person. And I realize now that's because I actually have a learning disability around spatial. It's a spatial nonverbal disability. And so it makes sense to me that actually visual sort of things, because sometimes just don't click in my brain. And so as much as I love Instagram as something that I consume, I'm more wordy than I am expressing myself through images. And so if you want to find me, tell stories, LinkedIn is where you're going to find me. But all of this, oh, I was just speaking of being wordy. All of this is for me to say that I'm trying to be maybe a little bit more intentional. Like right now, it's just wake up and tell a story. And I might just be a little more intentional with what sort of stories I'm telling and who I'm telling the stories to, and maybe having those stories combined, being a little more connected with my brand of Plan Go Plan. And so I'm trying to come up with a plan right now and get that all plugged in so that I can kind of wake up and know what it is that I'm doing and be a little bit more directed with that. So those are the sorts of things where I'm trying to get into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty. So I'm still working on that, and I'm still teasing out a little bit of what I want my word of the year to be. At one point I wanted it to be around refinement, mostly because I keep liking to make new things, but I need to just refine. I also need to trust that I have the knowledge, that I have the skills and the capabilities that I need to make the impact that I know I'm capable of in this wonderful wild world. I've been really thinking about how important it is for me to be light, to move lightly through what feels like a really, I don't know, the world feels weird. It feels heavy. And how can I be light? Like a light, like that shines, but also light in terms of weight. And how do I just really think about practices that I can create that help me be that light? Because when I am in that space of lightness, I know that I'm best able to serve others and I feel my best. And so I'm kind of leaning into something around that, but I'm still giving myself time. I'll name it maybe on January 1st as a way to welcome in the year, but I'm just kind of still sitting with a few different options. So, some of the plans that I've made and that I'm really excited about is related to this podcast. So, we are going to feel a few things shift just a bit. I am going to go back to one episode a week. I'm going to have way more solo episodes. I know that I've had a lot of interviews lately. Y'all, I love talking to other people. That being said, I also want to make sure that you get to hear my voice. My husband's going to be on some podcast episodes with me. When I do bring guests in, I've been really strategic about who those guests are. I'm so jazzed about who I'm bringing in January. Really big author, so I'm super excited about that. Each month next year is going to have a theme. And so January is begin, in February it's around trust, and in March it's flow. And I'm so excited that these themes are going to tether us. I'm kind of playing around with the idea of starting a book club. So if you want to read and jam out about a book each month with me, let me know. If there's some interest, if people connect with me on that, let's do it. But I'm really excited, like I said, that I'm going to have each episode kind of has its purpose. Once a month, I'll have a guest. If I have more than one guest, it will just be a bonus episode. Ryan is going to, my husband, sneak in on some of these episodes with me. We're going to be talking about different books related to planning and goal setting and focus and the theme of the month. So that's really going to be tied to that theme of the month. So I'm really excited about some of those things in terms of, ways that you can work with me. I'm going to be having Plan Go Plan Your Year retreats every single quarter. So if you go to my website, plangoplan.com, and go to retreats, you're going to be able to see, I think I have 3 of the 4 dates scheduled for next year. So if you're interested, you should do that. They're really, really lovely. And I know that I'm just going to keep making them better. Mastery is something that I really value. And I like just refining and making things a wildly transformative experience for the people that come. From there, I'm going to be doing some group coaching if that's something that you're interested in. I really want to work with women in high pressure jobs who want to pursue bold goals without losing themselves, even when life is banana pants. And I've been really cultivating some exciting tools around planning, boldness, goal setting, and leadership. And I'm really, really just excited about how this is all coming together. If you are looking for that support, please reach out to me. I'm going to have 4 cohorts this year. I'm keeping them really small because I believe in the intimate power of a small group to be able to share with each other and have that space and time. So yeah, I'm really excited about 2026. I've had a good 2025. That being said, I am ready to release it and I'm ready to kind of explore, try on new things. So, I hope that this episode has given you some ideas about how you might set your goals, how you might move those goals from an idea into an actual plan. And I hope that I've drummed up some excitement for 2026 on this podcast. I am so grateful for y'all. And if there's anyone in your life that you can share this podcast with that you think, hey, I think having Danielle in their ear could just brighten their day some, add a little bit of light to their steps, please share it with them. That's so important to me. And it really is one of my favorite things when I hear that things are helping people and they've shared it. If you want support, if you're looking for that extra nudge, like you want this year to be the year that you step into your boldest goal, please reach out. Nothing tickles me more than being able to connect with other women in high pressure jobs who just want to live expansively. We want to keep doing the amazing things that we feel called to do, but we also don't want to lose ourselves along the way doing those things. So if that's you, contact me. I appreciate y'all so much. And until next time, people, be balanced and be well, friends.